The woman who refused to give up on an abandoned school bus. Imagine discovering an old school bus that everyone else had forgotten. Dust covered every surface, the paint was faded, the tires looked worn out, and years of neglect had left the vehicle sitting abandoned with no clear future. Most people would have walked away, but one determined woman saw something different. She didn't see a broken bus, she saw potential. The video begins with the woman riding her scooter toward an abandoned blue and white school bus parked in a quiet area. As she approaches the vehicle, it's obvious that the bus is in terrible condition. The exterior is dirty, the interior is filled with dust, debris, and trash. The seats are filthy, the floor is covered in dirt, and it looks like the bus hasn't been used in a very long time. Instead of being discouraged, she immediately gets to work. She grabs cleaning tools and begins removing years of accumulated dirt. Piece by piece, she clears out trash from inside the bus. She sweeps the floor carefully. Dust flies into the air as she works through every section of the vehicle. It's not glamorous work, but she understands something important. Every great restoration starts with cleaning. As more dirt disappears, the true condition of the bus slowly becomes visible. The project is clearly going to require a lot of effort, time, and money, but she remains focused. After inspecting the vehicle, she realizes that several major components need replacement before the bus can return to the road. The old tires are no longer reliable. The batteries have seen better days. And there are mechanical problems that must be fixed. A truck arrives carrying brand new tires and fresh batteries. This marks the beginning of the real transformation. The worn-out tires are removed one by one. Carefully and methodically, she installs the new replacements. The difference is immediately noticeable. The bus starts looking less like a forgotten vehicle and more like a project with real potential. Next comes the battery replacement. The old batteries are taken out. New ones are installed. This is a critical step because without a reliable power source, the bus cannot operate properly. By the end of this stage, the abandoned school bus has already taken its first major step toward coming back to life. What once looked like scrap is beginning to look like a vehicle with a future. But the hardest challenge is still ahead. The engine has not yet started, and deep inside the dashboard, hidden electrical problems are waiting to be solved. By now, the bus was starting to look a little better. The new tires had been installed, fresh batteries were in place. But none of that would matter if the engine refused to start. This was the moment that could determine whether the entire project would succeed or fail. The woman climbed into the driver's seat and began examining the electrical system. Under the dashboard was a tangled mess of wires. Years of wear, weather, and neglect had taken their toll. Some connections appeared damaged, others looked loose. Finding the problem wouldn't be easy. Patiently, she began tracing wires one by one. She checked connections. She cleaned components. She carefully repaired damaged sections of the electrical system. The work required concentration and technical skill. One mistake could create even more problems. For a long time, there were no signs of success. The bus remained silent, but she refused to give up. After making several repairs, she returned to the driver's seat and turned the key again. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the engine came to life. The old bus roared back into action. A vehicle that had been abandoned for years was running again. It was one of the most satisfying moments in the entire restoration. But even though the engine was working, the project was far from finished. Now that the bus could move, she turned her attention to its appearance. The exterior was still covered in years of dirt and grime. The inside wasn't much better. She brought out a high-pressure washer and began one of the most dramatic parts of the restoration. Powerful streams of water blasted against the bus. Layers of dirt washed away. Mud flowed off the vehicle. The original surfaces slowly began to reappear. Every section received careful attention. The roof, the windows, the wheels, the sides of the bus. Nothing was overlooked. Dust that had accumulated over the years disappeared. The transformation was becoming impossible to ignore. What had looked like a forgotten wreck now looked like a bus worth saving. But another major challenge remained. The body of the bus still showed signs of damage. Rust spots could be seen across the exterior. Scratches and dents reminded everyone of the vehicle's long and difficult past. If she wanted the bus to look brand new, these problems had to be fixed. So she gathered her tools and prepared for the next stage. A stage that would completely change the appearance of the vehicle forever. She picked up a sanding machine and got to work. And that's when the real transformation began.
From rusty wreck to school pride. With the engine running and the bus finally clean, the woman faced the biggest challenge yet. The bus still looked old. Rust stains covered parts of the body. Scratches and dents could be seen from almost every angle. Even though it was functional, it certainly didn't look like a school bus that children would be excited to ride. That was about to change. She began sanding the entire exterior. Slowly, she removed damaged paint and rust from the metal surface. The process took time. Every rough spot had to be smoothed. Every imperfection had to be corrected. Whenever she found dents or damaged areas, she applied body filler and carefully shaped it until the surface looked even again. The work was exhausting. Hour after hour, she continued preparing the bus. She understood that a great paint job starts long before the paint is applied. Finally, after all the preparation was complete, it was time for the most exciting stage of the restoration. Painting. Using professional equipment, she began covering the bus with bright yellow paint. The transformation was immediate. As the yellow color spread across the body, the old abandoned vehicle seemed to disappear. In its place stood a real school bus. Each section received careful attention. The sides, the front, the rear. Every surface was painted evenly. When the paint dried, the difference was incredible. No one would have guessed this was the same bus from the beginning of the video. But she wasn't finished yet. She wanted the bus to feel welcoming for children, so she turned her attention to customization. Inside the bus, she installed new floor mats. She measured each section carefully before cutting the material to fit perfectly. The interior instantly looked cleaner and more comfortable. Then came one of the most fun parts of the project. She decorated the exterior with colorful cartoon stickers. Popular characters appeared on the sides of the bus, giving it a cheerful and friendly personality. The decorations transformed the vehicle from a simple bus into something children would genuinely enjoy seeing. Restoration was complete. The abandoned bus had become a bright, beautiful school vehicle. The woman climbed behind the wheel and drove toward its final destination, a school. As she arrived, staff members came out to see the finished result. Among them was the school principal. The principal inspected the bus and was visibly impressed. The transformation was almost unbelievable. What had once been forgotten and abandoned was now ready to serve an important purpose again. Then came the most rewarding moment of the entire journey. The woman handed over the keys. The bus was no longer her project. It was now a vehicle that would help transport students safely to school. A young student stood near the bus. It was a powerful reminder of why the project mattered. This wasn't just about fixing an old vehicle. It was about creating something useful for the community. Through determination, skill, and hard work, one woman had given new life to something everyone else had given up on. And in doing so, she created a brighter future for the children who would ride that bus every day. The end.